How Ibrahim Traore plans to take Burkina Faso's gold mines back. In a groundbreaking turn of events, Ibrahim Traore, the youthful and audacious president of Burkina Faso, has embarked on a journey of radical transformation within his nation. At a mere 34 years old, he not only holds the distinguished title of the country's head of state, but also claims the remarkable distinction of being the youngest leader in the world. With an unwavering determination, Traore has decided to challenge the status quo and breathe new life into Burkina Faso. The time for complacency has passed, as he proclaims, "Enough is enough." His visionary leadership is now reshaping the entire landscape of the nation, with a primary focus on severing the shackles of former colonial powers that have long drained Burkina Faso of its lifeblood and resources. For decades, the resilient people of Burkina Faso toiled in the harshest conditions, mining precious gold that tragically ended up enriching the coffers of these former colonial powers. This injustice did not escape Traore's discerning eye. With an acute awareness of the socio-economic plight endured by his fellow citizens, he began plotting a course of action to overturn the tables of power. In a recent address to both influential businessmen and the media, Traore made a resounding declaration: the reclamation of Burkina Faso's gold mines. Determined to take whatever measures necessary, regardless of dissenting opinions, he unequivocally stated that he could no longer stand idly by while the young people of Burkina Faso toiled day after day, their labor benefiting foreign powers. However, this audacious proclamation merely scratches the surface of Traore's far-reaching plans. What followed next in his address had the potential to send shockwaves through the corridors of European powers and the United States alike. The world eagerly awaits to unravel the details of his strategy as he unveils his comprehensive plan to reclaim Burkina Faso's gold mines. With anticipation running high, let us delve deeper into Traore's vision and discover how he intends to reshape the destiny of Burkina Faso. Brace yourselves as we embark on this captivating journey of transformation. In a surprising turn of events, Ibrahim Traore, the president of Burkina Faso, addressed the nation's youth and businessmen during the International Youth Day celebrations in August of this year. Little did anyone expect that Traore would seize this moment to unveil his groundbreaking policy on reclaiming gold. However, considering the audience's significant representation from the youth and the gold mining industry, Traore felt compelled to share this important message of change. Since assuming power in September 2022, Traore has been steadfast in his mission to uplift Burkina Faso by tapping into the country's abundant resources. During the ceremony, as he took the stage, Traore highlighted the conflicting nature of International Youth Day with the actions of the Western world towards African countries. He boldly stated that the treatment of African nations by former colonial powers represented the worst and most barbaric form of imperialism. Traore pointed out a common misconception regarding the end of slavery by Europe and the United States, asserting that the affliction of slavery still persists in Africa. He emphasized that it is the Western powers who perpetuate this issue by subjecting young Africans to hazardous working conditions in gold mines. These individuals risk their lives to generate profits for Europe, while receiving minimal compensation, barely enough to sustain themselves. Furthermore, Traore stressed the presence of neo-colonialism in Burkina Faso, which continues to persist in certain sectors. However, he assured the audience that this would change. The moment everyone had been waiting for arrived as Traore revealed his plan to address and dismantle this unjust system. In the pursuit of clarity and progress, Traore's address shed light on the urgent need for change in Burkina Faso. The world eagerly anticipates the details of his plan, as he charts a course towards a future where the nation can stand on its own feet, utilizing its rich resources for the benefit of its people. Stay tuned as we delve deeper into Traore's vision, exploring the transformative steps he intends to take. In a momentous announcement, Ibrahim Traore, the president of Burkina Faso, revealed the nation's strategic policy to reclaim its gold mines. Drawing attention to historical parallels, Traore highlighted the resemblance between the current situation in Burkina Faso and the exploitation experienced by black slaves in Europe and the Americas during the 1800s. He lamented the persisting harsh working conditions endured by miners in Burkina Faso today, who risk their lives and sacrifice everything for the extraction of gold. Adding to the injustice, Traore underscored that the fruits of their labor ultimately benefit European powers, as they hold mining rights and exert structural control over Burkina Faso's gold mining sector. However, he emphatically declared that this state of affairs would no longer endure. Traore outlined his transformative vision to modernize the sector, introducing a newly established company that would assume control over all mining sites in Burkina Faso, with a particular focus on the gold mines. This bold move would pave the way for the expulsion of European companies, as their agreements were based on exploitative practices. The newly formed company would ensure that the extracted gold remains within Burkina Faso, enabling its benefits to reach the people directly. By breaking free from the cycle of working in deplorable conditions, the citizens of Burkina Faso would experience a profound shift in their quality of life. Traore's resolute commitment to change and his innovative approach to reclaiming the gold mines herald a new era for Burkina Faso. As the nation embarks on this transformative journey, the world eagerly awaits the implementation of these measures, which promise to uplift the lives of its people and restore dignity to the mining industry. Stay tuned as we continue to follow this remarkable path toward progress and prosperity. In a groundbreaking move, Burkina Faso is set to modernize its mining sectors, allowing its people to extract gold using contemporary methods employed by developed nations. This transformation represents a significant departure from the exploitative practices of the past, where gold served to enrich Europeans rather than the citizens of Burkina Faso. President Ibrahim Traore emphasized that the era of exploitation by former colonizers has reached its end. Moving forward, Burkina Faso will forge a new path, one that combats terrorism not only through military means, but also through development. Traore underscored the pivotal role of empowering the youth, as they can easily fall into illegal activities when they realize their efforts primarily benefit others, rather than themselves. Unemployment and the desperate need for income to improve their lives drive many young people towards such illicit paths. However, European-run gold mines have perpetuated a stark contradiction. Instead of improving lives, these mines have exacerbated the hardships faced by the people. Traore declared that Burkina Faso's newly established company would create job opportunities specifically for the country's youth. It is crucial for everyone to understand that from this point forward, their endeavors would directly benefit their own country and themselves, not European nations. During the ceremony, Traore shifted his attention to the businessmen in attendance. His message implied the need for collaboration and support from the private sector to drive the country's development agenda. By engaging with local entrepreneurs and businesses, Burkina Faso aims to foster economic growth, create sustainable job opportunities, and ensure that the benefits of its resources remain within the nation. This pivotal moment marks the initiation of a paradigm shift in Burkina Faso's mining industry. As the nation embraces modernization and empowers its citizens, the world watches with anticipation to witness the positive impact that this visionary approach will have on the lives of the Burkinabe people. Stay tuned as we continue to follow Burkina Faso's journey towards a prosperous and self-sufficient future. In a resolute call to action, President Ibrahim Traore urged businessmen to prepare themselves for the forthcoming measures that would forcefully create opportunities for the youth of Burkina Faso. Recognizing the pivotal role played by business leaders in the country's economic landscape, Traore emphasized their power to generate job prospects and contribute to the nation's recovery. Traore revealed the launch of APEC, an initiative aimed at redefining businesses within Burkina Faso. The rationale behind this endeavor lies in the country's possession of abundant raw materials for various products. Despite this wealth, Burkina Faso continues to import finished goods that could be produced domestically. Traore cited examples such as having an abundance of tomatoes, but lacking the means to process them into tomato paste. He further highlighted the irony of not being able to utilize oilseed despite its presence in Burkina Faso, a consequence of European powers deliberately maintaining the country's dependence despite possessing the necessary resources. Acknowledging the challenges that lie ahead on the path to self-sufficiency and absolute independence, Traore cautioned that imperial powers would undoubtedly attempt to hinder Burkina Faso's progress. They would strive to create obstacles that could potentially discourage the nation from pursuing its plans and accepting the status quo. However, Traore firmly asserted that if the people of Burkina Faso unite in this fight for their own well-being, no one would be able to sabotage their efforts. In a moment that reverberated with significance, Traore declared that Burkina Faso's struggle was not an isolated one. Instead, it represented the collective fight of the entire African continent. This powerful statement underscored the interconnectedness and shared aspirations of African nations in their quest for progress and emancipation. As Burkina Faso embarks on this transformative journey towards self-sufficiency, the resolve of its people and their unity will prove crucial. By harnessing the potential of its resources, rallying the support of its business community, and embracing the wider vision of a united Africa, Burkina Faso aims to carve its own path towards prosperity and independence. Stay tuned as we follow the unfolding story of Burkina Faso's determined fight for a brighter future. Burkina Faso's course of action should serve as inspiration for other African nations seeking to break free from the control of former colonial powers. The imperial European forces, driven by their own sinister plans to undermine Burkina Faso, will find it impossible to extend their influence over the entire African continent. While they may resort to unethical tactics and blackmail to manipulate individual countries, the collective strength and unity of Africa make it an insurmountable challenge. This reality is evidenced by the increasing number of coups in Africa, as leaders loyal to their countries rise to power. President Ibrahim Traore's bold strategies are not new. He unveiled his intentions for Burkina Faso when he assumed office in 2022. His visionary plans and actions, shared during the Second Russia-Africa Economic and Humanitarian Forum, have now become a reality. In a clear call for substantial change in the behavior of African leaders, Traore urged his fellow counterparts to resist the influence of imperialist forces. He emphasized the need for African heads of state to stop behaving like puppets, dancing to the tune of the imperialists. Traore also stressed the importance of achieving food self-sufficiency across African nations. Traore commended Russian President Vladimir Putin's decision to provide free grain to 6 African nations after the collapse of the Black Sea deal. He presented this gesture as a wake-up call for African leaders, highlighting the importance of taking control of their own food production and reducing reliance on external sources. As we conclude his speech, Traore echoed the powerful words spoken by Thomas Sankara in his 1984 UN address: "The slave who cannot revolt does not deserve pity." Traore concluded with Sankara's signature phrase, "Fatherland or death, we shall triumph." Remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more videos on Black culture, history, civilization, and identity. Let's continue on this journey. President Traore's words reverberated like a rallying cry, swiftly spreading through social media and resonating with African youth. His vision extends beyond his own nation. He aims to ignite a spirit of unity across the entire African continent. His plea is for a future where Africa no longer falls victim to external exploitation, but instead stands united as a federation of self-reliant and resilient nations. This vision seeks equal recognition for Africa on the global stage. Traore emphasized in his speech that this aspiration is not a mere desire. but a necessity for Africa's survival and progress. His call to action goes beyond inspiring the dormant yet resilient spirit of the African people. It encapsulates the essence of a continent that remains inexhaustible in its pursuit of dignity, autonomy, and prosperity, despite the challenges of the past and present. This sentiment was vividly displayed in the enthusiastic welcome Traore received from the people of Burkina Faso upon his return on July 31st. At just 34 years old, he assumed the role of head of state and leader of the patriotic movement for safeguard and restoration, making him the youngest-serving head of state globally. This overthrow was not an isolated incident, but part of a broader trend in Africa, where 5 similar coups took place between August 2020 and July 2023 in Mali, Chad, Guinea, Burkina Faso, and now Gabon. These countries were once colonies of France, and these significant political disruptions represent a protest against the enduring influence of colonialism, often referred to as Fran of Freak. The leaders behind these coups openly criticized civilian political authorities for their perceived inaction and subservience to this system. They questioned the role and involvement of Western powers in spreading terrorism across Africa, particularly after the assassination of Libyan President Muammar Gaddafi by NATO. Key issues raised include the proliferation of military bases across Africa and unfair trade agreements that primarily benefit foreign multinational corporations. The coup leaders argue that these factors perpetuate a cycle of exploitation, hindering Africa's growth and development. The African continent stands at a critical juncture, with leaders like Traore inspiring a new generation to challenge the status quo and work towards a future where Africa's autonomy and prosperity are no longer compromised. Citizens in these nations have shown support for military takeovers, as seen in Mali, where large protests led to the removal of the sitting president, with the public backing the military and its mission. This demonstrates that Ibrahim Traore's plan to unite African leaders in a collective fight against neo-colonialism will yield positive results in the near future. The series of coups that have taken place align with the broader objective of liberating Africa from former colonial powers. If African leaders join forces, it will be easier than ever to make the continent more powerful than Europe and America are today. Just imagine the immense power of a united Africa, with leaders like Ibrahim Traore working together to modernize their countries and achieve the same level of prosperity enjoyed by European powers until now. Traore's rise to power in Burkina Faso is a part of this overarching narrative, as a wave of military-led coups sweeps across French-speaking Africa, where political instability persists. The world watches, hoping for peaceful transitions and sustainable development. History bears witness to the assassinations of influential African and Black leaders such as Patrice Lumumba, Thomas Sankara, Amilcar Cabral, Fred Hampton, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King Jr., and Muammar Gaddafi. These leaders often clashed with Western interests. Despite this dark history, there is hope that Burkina Faso's current leader will continue to pursue African sovereignty and prosperity, defying the geopolitical forces that claimed the lives of his revolutionary predecessors. This new wave of military leadership emerges amidst a growing geopolitical contest, a renewed scramble for Africa. Former colonial powers like France and the UK, along with the United States, are re-engaging with the continent. However, the landscape has changed, with new global players like China, Turkey, India, and Brazil eager to establish their presence. Unlike the 1884 to 1885 Berlin Conference, which divided Africa into artificial nation-states and exploited its resources, the current dynamics reflect a shifting power balance. African nations are now seeking to assert their sovereignty, reclaim their resources, and forge partnerships that are mutually beneficial. The outcome of this contest will shape Africa's future and its position on the global stage. There is a growing desire for autonomy and unity on the African continent. After centuries of division and exploitation by European powers, African nations are now seeking to hold them accountable. They are no longer passive observers in global affairs, but significant actors shaping their own destinies, drawing international attention. In this multiplex world, where attention and loyalty are not monopolized by a single director or producer for long, Africa's transformation is gaining traction. The voices advocating for revolution resonate not only within Africa, but also far beyond its borders. African people in the diaspora embody the vision of influential figures, such as Marcus Garvey, Vogeli D. Du Bois, Richard Wright, Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, and Huey P. Newton. They provide powerful support for leaders fighting against Western exploitative measures. This is why many in Africa welcome the coups, as they see it as a means to remove civilian leaders who have played roles as Europe's puppets. The military leaders, on the other hand, represent a call for true independence and advocate for Africa's sovereignty. Influential African figures are capturing the imagination of the continent's youth, and the time may have come for Africa's rise, as predicted by Charles Henry Pearson in 1893 and Gustave Le Bon's Psychological Laws of Human Evolution in 1894. Africa's demographic makeup, characterized by a youthful and growing population and abundant natural resources, adds a unique dimension to this hopeful scenario. The continent can harness its demographic strength to advance its aspirations for self-governance. The collective energy of Africa's youth may well be the catalyst that empowers the continent to stand as an equal player on the global stage, rather than a subordinate. In this context, Ibrahim Traore's address to the youth holds significance. He emphasizes that Burkina Faso and Africa, as a whole, are not poor. European powers have made them poor by stealing their resources. Traore calls on the youth to work for their country's liberation from the shackles of neo-colonialism. He has taken the first step by announcing plans to reclaim Burkina Faso's gold mines. If African countries unite and follow a similar path, kicking out European companies exploiting their resources, it is not an impossible plan. They can establish their own companies to ensure the benefits of resource exploitation stay within their countries. Ibrahim Traore has emerged not only as a leader of Burkina Faso, but also as a beacon of hope for the entire African continent. The people of Burkina Faso are standing with him, and his power lies in their support. Whether he will succeed in reclaiming his country's gold mines remains to be seen, but his determination and the backing of the people make it a possibility. If other leaders join hands with him, they can unlock the true power that African countries hold.